What is up, everybody, and welcome back to your favorite place to talk movies. I'm your host, Luce, and this is Real Talk, Off Script. Alright, so today I got a different episode for you guys. I don't have a review or any movie news today, but I did want to get into a topic that I've kind of touched on over the past couple of months regarding two of what I think are going to be the biggest movies of the year this year, and that is Avengers Doomsday and Spider Man Brand New Day. I haven't really pitted them against each other as to different reasons as to why I think this one is going to be bigger or the other one is going to be bigger. So I did make a list of different reasons as to why either one of them could take the top spot this year. I'll save my I'll save my opinion for the actual end of the video as to which one I actually think is going to be number one. But I actually got the idea because I actually spoke about Spider-Man Brand New Day on the past podcast that I went out, the last episode that I put out, and it just got me thinking a little bit more as far as, Spider-Man No Way Home. When it came out, it was like a huge mega thing. Like it might as well had been an Avengers level movie in itself. And I felt like just for me thinking back on just that time and how everything went down regarding that movie, I kind of had to put some respect on Spider-Man's name. So that's why I kind of went back to the drawing board and kind of just thought out a couple of different pros and cons as to why either one of these movies could be the number one movie of the year this year. Like I said, I did make a list for both of the films, pros and cons for both of the films. But funny enough, I'm going to start off with Spider Man. And just to be completely transparent, I don't think Spider Man has any cons as to why it doesn't or wouldn't be able to be the number one movie of the year. So without it having any cons, in my opinion, which Spider Man is way different from Avengers, but I'll get into all the reasons as to why later in the video. But Spider Man doesn't have any cons, so let me just get into the pros as to why I think Spider-Man could potentially be the biggest movie of the year this year. So, for those positives, like I said, there's absolutely no negatives that I can think of, but for the positives, I would say, just off the bat, the last Spider-Man movie, as I stated, made almost $2 billion in itself. Now, mind you, it did have some, I want to say maybe 3 re-releases, but I know for sure it had multiple re-releases. And of course, anytime a film has a re-release in the theaters, it doesn't matter how far. If it came out in 1990 and then you have a re-release in 2020, that still counts as the overall box office numbers for that movie. Which is why a lot of movies, like even Avatar, the original one, the numbers are way more inflated as to what it was when it ended its theatrical run compared to what it is now. I don't even know what the original Avatar is at now. It's probably close to 3 billion at this time. But yeah, so for Spider-Man No Way Home, when that released, it made, well, in its final release, I should say, because I don't think they're gonna do any more re-releases for that movie. So let's just say what it is now. It's at $1.9 billion. So yeah, even that in itself, and even though that wasn't an Avengers movie, it gave the crowd an Avengers experience. Like I said, like from the beginning of the video, it just essentially like it gave everybody that excitement that you expect from Avengers movie. It gave everybody that pop. Like we wanted to go back and see it multiple times. We got 3 Spider-Man in in the movie. I mean, and that in itself was way more than enough to get people, insanely hyped to go see that movie. All the rumors leading into it, it was really as though we were getting an Avengers movie. If you just change the title, if I just told you guys, you know, just a couple of just basement level things that went on in a Spider-Man movie, but take out the fact that it is a Spider-Man movie, it would sound like it was an Avengers movie. Like, oh, we don't know which characters may pop up. There may be these callbacks from these movies and this, that, and the third. That's essentially how we talk when we're talking about an Avengers movie. But all that happened with Spider-Man No Way Home. And we have a lot of similar, topics that we can go off of leading into Spider-Man Brand New Day. So that's another reason why I feel like, this could be potentially one of the biggest movies of the year. And the last Spider-Man movie that we got was the biggest movie of that year. And it ended up being one of the biggest movies of all time. Ended up making $1.9 billion. So that's just one topic, or one pro, I should say, for Spider-Man. Because like I said, I don't have any cons. Nothing that I can think of, at least. But so moving on to another positive that we can go off of as to why Spider-Man Brand New Day could be the biggest movie of the year. If you think about it, at least from what I remember, Spider-Man No Way Home was very, very, very well received by critics and fans as well. I mean, just myself included, and just all the talk on the internet as far as like when people talk about their experiences with it, everybody, for the most part, enjoyed that movie. I mean, if you want to go look at it from a Rotten Tomatoes standpoint, and of course, the Rotten Tomatoes is not the end all be all, but it is a good way to gauge, how good a movie is or how good people think movies are. But it ended up having, a 93% as far as the tomato meter. So that means 93% of the people that reviewed the movie either liked it or loved it. So you gotta, I mean, what? We can't scoff at 93% for the tomato meter. And then when you go over to the audience score, that's sitting at almost a fucking 100 at 97% for the audience score. So yeah, fans will still be, riding some form of a high going into Brand New Day, coming off of No Way Home. Even though No Way Home was what 5, 6 years ago now, we're still gonna be riding that high just based off of how much fun we had with No Way Home and just how good the movie actually was. Because I mean, take out all the fan speculation, take out all the stuff, take out the three Spider-Man and all that. That movie still would have been really, really good. They just found a way to add in, the stakes, the drama, certain characters. I don't want to spoil because I'm sure some people still haven't seen it. I still see people on the internet saying, "Oh, I need to run back all the Spider-Man movies before a Brand New Day come out." So obviously, a lot of people still haven't seen that movie, and a lot of people did see that movie, which is still a crazy thing. But yeah, certain things happen to certain characters. Like you feel the stakes, you feel the drama, you feel the emotion, and they gave us that pop and that fun that you're looking for when you want to go to a Spider-Man movie or something like later. I'll talk about an Avengers movie as well. But I feel like Spider-Man No Way Home did a very good job of that. And that's not going to do anything but bleed into Brand New Day when we get that in a little over a month now. But we're getting it sooner rather than later. But yeah, I feel like that's another reason why, I'll get to it later, give you guys my actual opinion who I think is going to be the number one. But I think Spider-Man Brand New Day has a very good chance. Just based off of those couple of things that I said. Like we had an amazing experience. And I can't speak for everybody else. But I can speak for myself. I saw Spider-Man No Way Home, I want to say 3 times in the theater when it came. I know for sure, I saw it twice. But I want to say I saw it 3 separate times, and every single time, like once a specific scene happens in that movie, and then from that scene on, the theater was rocking. And I know y'all know which scene I'm talking about. From then on, the theater was rocking. Like we all enjoyed it. So, and I know a lot of people are gonna want to see if we can have that same experience going into Spider-Man Brand New Day. But that's just another pro that I'll say for this movie. So moving on from that, I do want to move on to another pro for this movie. And that's it's the fact that the last 3 Spider-Man movies have all increased at the box office with each new addition. So we did have Spider-Man Homecoming, which ended up making $880 million, which is obviously a lot of money for a movie to make. So you ended up having $880 million for Homecoming, and then you move on to Spider-Man Far From Home, which I think that was 2019, I want to say, and that one ended up making 1.1 billion. So obviously that one made a significantly more than Spider-Man Homecoming, which was $880 million. So obviously there was a rise there. And then you go on to Spider-Man No Way Home, which I just told you guys ended up, after it was done with this, however many re-releases they put out, it ended up, ending with $1.9 billion. So literally almost $2 billion for a Spider-Man movie. So Homecoming 880, Far From Home 1.1 billion, No Way Home 1.9 billion. Now, I understand that is an anomaly. That does not always happen for a franchise, and I'm not saying that Brand New Day, well, if No Way Home made 1.9, then Brand New Day is going to make 2.1. I'm not saying that, but I am saying with each and every new addition to this, well, to the last trilogy leading into whatever, is this going to be a trilogy, however many movies they're going to make moving forward with Tom Holland's iteration of Spider-Man. So far, there has been, with every single release, there has been a significant amount of increase in at the box office. Like, it just is what it is. And I also feel like just moving from Homecoming to, first of all, let's just start off with Homecoming. There was clearly a lot of buzz riding around that because we had literally just seen Spider-Man and Captain America Civil War. So that alone, and everybody being excited to see Spider-Man in the MCU proper, compared to Sony making its own side releases, that was already an exciting thing in itself. So moving on from Homecoming and going into Far From Home, if I remember right, I think that was the first Marvel / MCU movie to release after Endgame. So obviously all the buzz from people leaving Endgame is going to bleed into Spider-Man, and clearly Spider-Man in Avengers Endgame and Infinity War played a major role. Some of the most memorable scenes that we got from those films included Spider-Man. So you got to think about that as well. So that the hype going into that coming off of Endgame is what added to Far From Home as well. Then if you think about that from moving from Far From Home into No Way Home, you could take out everything that I just said as far as him being in the MCU for the first time, him having being a major standout in the Avengers movies with Infinity War and Endgame. Put all that to the side. If you tell us there's a rumor that we're getting Tom Holland, we're getting Andrew Garfield, and we're getting Tobey Maguire, all their Spider-Mans in the same movie at the same time, you honestly didn't need to say anything else. You didn't need a trailer. You didn't need to really pitch that. Anybody was going to say that's a go for that idea. And obviously, we didn't need to hear much more. Once we heard that was a rumor, everybody just out of curiosity flooded the theaters. I know I did, just to go see if that was even a possibility. So obviously that's why you got the increase. So my thing is moving on from No Way Home going into the next Spider-Man movie, I feel like a lot of the curiosity, and I'm going to go into some other things as to why, a lot of people may add to this and make it possibly move from 1.9 to maybe 2, maybe we'll reach 2 billion. I don't know, it's a possibility. But just going off of, the increase for all the last couple of movies, all the hype from the last couple of movies, and then No Way Home, obviously we ended out on a very, very hype level as well, because at the end of that movie, it's not a spoiler, but at the end of that movie, we see Spider-Man in more so of a position that we recognize him in, as far as down in his look, shitty apartment. I don't know if Mr. Ditkovich is his landlord, like in Spider-Man 2 and 3 or whatever the case may be, but we essentially see a down on his luck, just shitty luck Parker. Like that's what we're seeing. So of course that's what a lot of us have been asking and begging for. Like, yeah, the whole Tony Stark thing was cool. Him having the whole Stark tech suit and all that good. Yeah, that was cool. But now we want to see him back to his roots. We want to see the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, but him taking over Manhattan and not just Queens. And it looks like that's what we're gonna get. And like I said before, I mean, I'm in no way saying that the increase that we got from Homecoming down to No Way Home as far as the box office is going to carry over to Brand New Day. But I damn sure don't think it's impossible. I don't think it's impossible in any way, shape, or form. I think that's a very, very realistic thing to think, because we've obviously seen the data. The data is there. It's every single movie so far has rise in the box office. I'm thinking even if this one rises just a little bit, obviously No Way Home had a big shtick, it had a big thing, and that was going to draw more people in. But to be completely honest, yeah, we got 3 Spider-Man in No Way Home, but there is a shit ton to look forward to other than just Spider-Man in this movie. I mean, you got the Frank Castle's The Punisher is in there. We're obviously getting the Hulk. We're maybe even getting Jean Grey, or if not Jean Grey, then some other X-Men character. You got Scorpion, Tarantula, Boomerang, Tombstone. It looks like the Hand. We got fucking ninjas in the movie. Like, Spider-Man may be mutating into fucking man. Like, there's so many different things to look forward to in this movie. This is not just, perfect example, it's not just Spider-Man versus Doc Ock like Spider-Man 2, and that's just it. Like, no, this is like a shit ton, a bevy of characters that they're putting in this movie. So, we're not getting 3 Spider-Man like the last one, of course, but there's so many reasons why I cannot wait to see Hulk and Spider-Man face off. The Punisher, is it like what? Like, I'm just as excited for this as I was for No Way Home. I'm sorry, I was gonna say Brandon Day, but I'm just as excited for this as I was for No Way Home, and I'm sure I'm not alone. Like, if you're a Marvel fan, if you just saw everything that we saw in the first trailer, how could you not be as excited for this as you were for No Way Home? Like, it's just I can't think of any other reason why you wouldn't be. So that's my main reasons why I think that we should not rule out in any way, shape, or form that Spider-Man could be the biggest or highest grossing movie of the year. Now, I'm not saying that yet. I'll leave that to the end of the episode, but I'm not saying that yet. But that's pretty much everything that I want to talk about as far as Spider-Man Brand New Day. I do think it has a very high chance of being, the highest grossing movie of the year. But I'll let you guys know what I actually think the one is at the end of the video. So moving on from Spider-Man Brand New Day, let me get down on some of the topics that I have, or some of the cons and pros that I have for the Avengers. Now, like I said earlier, I didn't really have any cons for Spider-Man because I just don't think Spider-Man is in a bad position. I don't think anybody is expecting more than they should. I don't think anybody is saying, okay, this is a prove-it movie for Spider-Man, or I'm out. Like, no, that's not the case. But for the Avengers, it's a little different. Because obviously, with every Avengers movie, or every Avengers release, is really based off of the build up of multiple character storylines from their movies. We had their films, and then we had storylines that kind of tied in and end credits for that. Like it's a whole the every Avengers movie is like a hodgepodge of everything that you saw from Marvel and the MCU so far. Obviously, it's an unfair comparison, but Spider-Man doesn't have to deal with that. Spider-Man literally only has to think about, for the most part, what happened in the previous Spider-Man movie. It doesn't have to worry about what Captain America did in his movie, or what Shang-Chi did in his movie. No, it could just really just focus on Spider-Man and everything involving him. Avengers, you don't have that. So that's why I have a lot of cons for Avengers that I did not have for Spider-Man at all. So let me get into some of the cons that I have for the Avengers. So starting off at the top, the first con that I want to talk about is obviously the box office has not been crazy when it comes to not even the Avengers, because that's obviously never been a problem for the Avengers, but for the MCU itself. The MCU itself has not been crazy. Like, if you just want to think about last year's releases from the MCU, we got Fantastic Four, which made a respectable 500 million. It ended up making 500 million, over 500 million actually. You had Captain America, which ended up making 415 million with the budget that movie had. That's not what you want to see. You want to see closer to maybe 7 or 8 for a movie like that with the budget as big as it was. So that one wasn't as good as we're used to. Then you had Thunderbolts as well, which everybody loved that movie. I have not heard one person, just me personally, say that they didn't like the Thunderbolts, or they thought it was boring, or they didn't like the story or the characters. I didn't hear that. All the talk that I saw and heard online was everybody speaking very glowingly of that movie, and even still, it ended up only making 382 million. So those are obviously not close to what the glory days of the MCU used to rake in. Like, you used to almost be able to, if the movie was good, that is, you could also like almost expect a good at least 600 to 700 million. Like, just off rip, if the movie was good as well. We haven't gotten close to that in a decent amount of time. I honestly can't remember. Maybe Shang-Chi, if I can remember off the top of my head, maybe that one did pretty good. But how long ago was that? What was that, like 2021 or something like that? Like, it's been a long time. So that's another reason, or one of the first reasons I should say, or first cons that I could say that I think Spider-Man may be able to catch up to Doomsday. But that's just one con. So moving on to another con, the MCU in the last phase and a half, I won't say the last 2 phases because obviously there were some hits, but in the last phase and a half, and I kind of broke down to what different phases are in the Marvel movies in the past episode. Essentially, I'll go over it again. The phases are like the phase 1 of the MCU was Iron Man, Iron Man 2, The Incredible Hulk, Thor, Captain America, the first Avenger, and then the actual first Avengers movie. And that set up one phase of the MCU. Then you can go into phase 2 where you got Ultron, Guardians of the Galaxy, Ant-Man, all the other shit, so on and so forth. So, with you guys understanding how phases work, I'll say the last phase and a half of the Marvel movies, it just wasn't what we're used to as far as from a quality level. It just wasn't. And a lot of fans, unfortunately, even the fans that consider, some of the movies being good or great, the movies themselves just haven't really stuck. Like, I heard a lot of people, and myself included, a lot of people enjoy Fantastic Four, but who's talking about it now? Nobody. Like, nobody's talking about, oh, do you remember this scene? Or this is one of my favorite scenes, one of the best scenes from Marvel. No, you don't really hear that with that. And a lot of people just say, oh, yeah, I like that. Or that movie was really good. And that's it. I will say maybe for the Thunderbolts, I think that's like the only movie that we've gotten recently that kind of stuck with people. Because I still see people talking about Thunderbolts for sure. Like, from specific scenes or specific characters, I still hear people talking about the Thunderbolts. And I think last year, out of the 3 that we got, Thunderbolts, at least thematically and just from a quality level, I think that one was the better out of the 3 from last year. But as I went over the numbers, that one was the lowest as far as the box office went. So that's odd as well. But that proves my point. Even the movies that are good or great, they're still not really sticking with the fans for whatever reason. So I think that's another con. So moving on from those two, unfortunately, this one kind of coincides with those two as well. But the fans, I feel like the fans just got tired of seeing more misses than hits coming from the MCU. Myself, I can't say I'm included in that because I'm a big Marvel fan, regardless, whether it's Sony or Fox, Disney. Like, I'm going to be one of the guys that's going to see 99% of the films unless it's something like Morbius, which I actually was going to go see, but I just didn't get around to it. And then once I saw the reviews and heard it talk about it, I was like, I'll catch it when it comes to streaming. And to this day, I still have not seen it. But other than that, I usually don't really miss a Marvel movie. But like I've told you guys plenty of times, and like I've touched on, I don't know how many times, somebody who isn't as into movies as I am, they're gonna be very picky with the movies that they decide to go spend their money on because everybody doesn't. This isn't everybody's hobby like it is for me. Um, yeah, it's just not like it's not everybody's hobby. So they're not gonna want to spend ample amount of dollars going over and over and over to movies when they've been burned so many times before. And I can't necessarily blame them. I mean, if you want people to come out to your movies, you have to make good movies. It just is what it is. I feel like that's only fair. If you want people to come to your restaurant, the food has to taste good. I feel like that's just fair. Like if I'm spending my money on something, I want to make sure I'm getting what I want out of the deal. And honestly, to be completely honest with you guys, for the last maybe 6 years, it's been like every other. You know, I'll say last year we got way more hits than misses last year. But that, you have to add in the Disney Plus stuff as well. So I'm kind of cheating. But even with the movies last year, unlike a lot of people, I actually really enjoyed the Captain America movie. I saw it twice in the theaters. I really enjoyed Captain America. I thoroughly enjoyed Thunderbolts, and I really, really liked Fantastic Four as well. Can't really say that for any of the other past years though. It's literally like maybe every other release from the MCU was good then bad, good then bad, good good bad bad, bad bad bad, good bad. Like it was. Of course, people are going to be like, you know what? I'm not going to worry about spending my money on that. It just is what it is. If I see it, I see it. Or whenever it comes to streaming, then I'll just watch it then. And I can't really blame people for that. So I really just feel like, people got so used to Marvel firing on all cylinders up until Endgame, and then after Endgame, it was kind of like, you're here or there, and maybe this one is gonna be good, or the next two are gonna be bad. That's not enough to make somebody want to just continuously keep spending their money like they used to before. So I think that's another thing going against Doomsday being one of the bigger movies of the year. Well, it's gonna be one of the bigger movies of the year. Don't. I hope I'm not. I know I'm rambling, but I don't want to confuse you guys. It's for sure gonna be top two. But this video is about which one is gonna be number one. So yeah, that's another reason why I feel like Spider-Man could maybe catch up and pass it to be number one. It's just essentially we don't know what we're gonna get from Marvel from a quality level. You gotta earn that trust back. But with that down, that's literally all the cons that I have. Everything else is pros for the Avengers. So let's get into the pros. Let's just start it off from here. It's a fucking Avengers movie. Like, what are we talking about? Yeah, I know I talked about a lot of cons, and yeah, a lot of that is understandable. A lot of that makes perfect sense. But at the end of the day, this is an Avengers movie. That in itself may be enough to get everybody to come back to the theaters again. I mean, when you think about it, the last Avengers movie we got was Endgame. Literally one of the best, not just Avengers movies, one of the best Marvel movies. Not just MCU either. One of the best movies ever made about Marvel characters. That's Fox included, that's Sony included, Universal, whoever you want to throw in there, whoever has made a Marvel movie, Endgame is like literally top five out of all of them, and that's just me. And I don't think I'm alone in that. I really don't. So yeah, we haven't gotten an Avengers movie since 2019. And the last one we got was fucking phenomenal. I think that in itself is enough to get people to get up, come out to the movie theaters, and make sure that they're there. And it's around Christmas time. Obviously, that's the Christmas Day is the highest day as far as traffic for all theaters. Like it just is. It's not my opinion. That's a literal stat. Christmas is always the biggest box office day of the year. And you got an Avengers Doomsday movie coming out, and we ain't got one since 2019. That's gonna get people to come outside and come see this movie. So that's one major pro. It's just the fact that it's the Avengers. That should be enough on the name itself. So that's our first pro. Moving into our second pro, there's never been anything remotely close to a flop for an Avengers movie. Like nothing remotely close. So I actually went back and pulled the data just for you guys' knowledge, because of course I already knew this. But like I said, I'm gonna say it one more time. There's never been anything remotely close to a flop for an Avengers movie. The lowest grossing Avengers movie, which is Age of Ultron, that one made $1.4 billion. If you, I don't, you would have to be insane to say, oh well, it's the lowest, so that got to be a flop, bro. You would be crazy to say some shit like that. $1.4 billion is never a flop unless the movie itself cost $1 billion to make. Then yeah, you're on your own, but nobody would green like that in the first place. So yeah, $1.4 billion is always going to be a major win for whatever studio that released the shit. So that's the lowest we're talking about. That's the lowest on the totem pole as far as Avengers movies. The highest, of course, put an asterisk next to it. This is with re-releases as well. But the highest movie in the Avengers franchise is Endgame, like we're talking about now. Endgame made $2.7 billion. So very close. Yeah, I know it's not the closest. You still got $300 million to go before you reach $3 billion, but Come on, that's relative. Like $2.7 billion once again with re-releases, and it might get a little bit higher because it's actually re-releasing this year as well. They want to. They said that they're adding extra footage to it, and I believe I've spoken about this on the pod before. But they're saying they're adding extra footage to in-game to kind of make more sense leading into Doomsday. Like, I don't know what they're gonna put in there. I don't know how much extra footage it is, but we are getting another re-release of that. So maybe they'll bump it up to 2.8. Who knows? But yeah, there's never been anything remotely close to a flop for an Avengers movie, and the last one we got was $2.7 billion. That's number 3 on the list. It's all time grossing movies like ever released in Hollywood history. Period. Avengers Endgame is third on the list. So if we're following that up, kind of how I compared it to Spider-Man, Brand New Day, and No Way Home. If we're following up one of the biggest films of all time with is essentially what they're calling a sequel of it, because that's what the Russo brothers have been calling it. Doomsday is essentially a sequel of Avengers Endgame. If that one is the third highest grossing movie of all time, I cannot sit up here and say that this one doesn't have the potential to be maybe top 5. Like I have to add that into whatever argument that we're talking about. So that's another pro that we got going on for this movie. The Avengers movies just straight up don't flop. So that's moving on from those. Pros. I'm sorry, not cons, pros. Moving on to another one. I feel like the curiosity that a lot of us have, myself included, like I keep saying, the curiosity for, Doomsday and whatever iteration that we're going to see of him, and you couple that in with Robert Downey Jr. being the actor that they chose to play that part, that curiosity, I feel like that's going to get a lot of people to come out to see it as well. I feel like if you put the fact that Marvel has been here and there with the quality to the side, if you put the fact that, the movies just haven't been sticking to the side like they used to, put all that to the side, I feel like people just would be interested to say, wait, Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man, right? And you're like, no, he's not Iron Man this time. He's playing Doctor Doom. And obviously we've never gotten a Doctor Doom in the MCU. Like, we don't know what a MCU iteration of Doctor Doom would look like. So obviously with that alone, like even if they picked somebody like I don't know, Cillian Murphy to play Doctor Doom, like a lot of people were fan casting him as. If we got him to play Doctor Doom, that in itself would be enough from a curiosity level to get people to want to go. Like, people would be intrigued by that just because Doctor Doom is a very intriguing character, so we'd be interested. But no, we didn't get Cillian Murphy. We got something even stranger. No pun intended. We're talking about Marvel movies. But even stranger, we got Robert Downey Jr. to come back and not play the role that we're used to him playing, but play somebody like Doctor Doom. If you told me nothing else about that movie, I would be interested in seeing that alone. And I know it's not just me that would say something like that. I know other people will feel exactly the same and be like, you know what? I just got to see what that even looks like. And then they'll go buy a ticket. Because, like I said, the Avengers movies have never been flops. We also have never gotten a bad Avengers movie either. And I know I'm kind of going over. That's actually another topic I want to get into, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, there's never been a bad one. So if you're shaking it up that crazy, I feel like the average Joe will be willing to look past all the bullshit that we've gotten from Marvel, which I don't think is a lot of it, but fans think of a lot of it is bullshit that we've gotten recently. People are willing to put that to the side just because they're intrigued, like I said, and they're going to want to go see exactly how that would look as Robert Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom in an Avengers movie. So I think that's going to drive ticket sales as well. So moving on to the next pro. Another thing that I feel like people will be curious about. I feel like people are really going to want to see the X-Men that we grew up knowing and loving, added in with a couple of new X-Men. Like we had never seen, unfortunately for us as the fans, we had never seen a Channing Tatum Gambit like we were supposed to see. But we did eventually end up seeing him in Deadpool and Wolverine, and he was one of the highlights of the film. So not only do we get, and I don't know if Hugh Jackman is in it, I don't know, but if I had to bet my money, I would say he is. But we're getting original Cyclops, we're getting Professor X back, we're getting Magneto, like we're getting all the characters from the X-Men movies, the Fox movies that we grew up on before the reboot and whatever you want to even call that, because they ended up weaving it in. They made it way too confusing once they recasted everything and brought in the old cast too. They made it confusing. I don't think we're getting none of those guys, but the OG X-Men, we're getting them back. And then you're adding them into the Avengers team that we've obviously been watching since 2012, and we've grown to love them as well. And we're getting all of them mixed into the same movie on top of fighting Robert Downey Jr. What the fuck? Like, my brain just trying to calculate everything in my brain. Just talking about it is like, yeah, just take my money. When the movie tickets coming out, and I know I'm not the only. I know I'm not crazy. I'm speaking as a fan, but I'm also speaking as a film fan as well. So I gotta, yeah, I'm trying to be objective, but I'm also being subjective. It's me and it's you guys' thoughts as well. But yeah, if we're getting X Men, the original, the OGs, and we're getting the Avengers, and you put them in the same movie for them to team up and or fight, from what I'm hearing, come on, bro, come on. This movie is going to sell a shit ton of tickets. It just is. So that's another pro that I got. I got two more, so I'm gonna try to get through them quick. I got two more pros for why I think Avengers Doomsday could be the number one spot. So we talked about the curiosity from Doctor Doom and X Men level. We talked about it. All there's never been an Avengers flop. We talked about the fact that, there's been Avengers movies as well that's coming out, and that was enough to get people to come out just off the name alone. But this one I want to talk about is just the fact that it's just been so long. It's been so long since we got an Avengers movie. It's literally almost been a decade. We haven't gotten one since 2019. We're not getting one to the end of this year, which is 2026. Now, luckily for us, which is a little off topic, but it's on topic. Luckily for us, we do get two Avengers movies to make up for that time, because we get one this year, which is Doomsday. We get one next year, which is Secret Wars. So we're getting two movies to fill in that long time that we waited to get another Avengers movie. So that's cool. I'm fucking with that. But it's been since 2019 since we got one, and if you just think about it, the first Avengers movie came out in 2012, right? That was the first one. The second one, which is Age of Ultron, came out in 2015. I'm sorry. That's only a 3-year wait in between movies. And then from there, yeah, it was a little while, but from 2015 to 2018, which really isn't that long, it's a 3-year span. They also coupled that in with Captain America Civil War, which is not an Avengers movie, yeah, admittedly, but you literally have the Avengers team in it. So they kind of sprinkled that in between. So we were getting spoiled with getting Avengers releases and or just seeing the Avengers every 2 years, give or take. We've never had to wait the time span like we have from 2019 all the way to the end of 2026 like we have. And that, of course, will make people be a little more ravenous and want to make sure they go out and get a ticket, because we all remember the experience that Infinity War and Endgame gave us in the theaters. I was there. I saw everybody jaws drop when Thanos finally got all the stones. He finally got the Infinity Gauntlet put together like he needed to, snapped his fingers, and accomplished what he said he was going to accomplish. I was there. I saw the shock and the awe. Like I've said it before on the pod. Like, of course, I knew that was going to happen. I'm an avid comic reader. I read the Infinity Gauntlet run. So I knew exactly what was going to happen. I just didn't know how it was going to happen. But some of these people in the theater, I genuinely don't think that they saw that coming. I think that they thought that the Avengers was going to win, like they usually always do. But no, they didn't. So, and then, of course, we had to wait a year with literally no information. We got no pictures. Somehow there wasn't any vital leaks of the movie. Like, we all had to sit with the fact that Thanos won for essentially a whole year until we got the sequel. And that in itself caused excitement. And then we're seeing now that people are saying, okay, well, y'all thought everything was tied up with a nice little bow at the end of Endgame, but guess what? No, it wasn't, because Doomsday is a direct. I'm quoting them specifically. I'm quoting the filmmakers and the directors of this movie specifically. They said that Doomsday is a direct sequel of Avengers Endgame. So of course, if I'm thinking about that, I'm like, shit, if I go back and watch Endgame, I have to watch it from a completely different lens now, because obviously we're missing something here. Something happened in between Infinity War and Endgame that the Russo brothers and the writers of this movie, I think it's Stephen McFeely is the writer for this movie. But there's something that we had to have missed for them to say, okay, whatever happened from Endgame, we're actually leading from that point and going directly into what happens next after that. So of course, if you know that, like I keep trying to explain to you guys, for the people that may not know that, yeah, that's going to make people more excited for the movie. Like, wait, what did we miss? Like, well, how can they make a direct sequel out of this? I thought we summed it up nicely. I thought everything was done. I thought that was the end of the chapter, when really it isn't. So, yeah, I feel like that's another reason why people will be very excited. And the fact that we haven't gotten anything since 2019 as far as an Avengers movie. So, that's one of my last pros. And I do have one more that I want to get into, which I've already, should I say, spoke about. And that's the fact that there are no bad, quote unquote, bad Avengers movies. All of, like, the worst one, and in my humble opinion, the worst Avengers movie is Avengers Age of Ultron. And that movie is in no way bad in any way, shape, or form. It's just the one I have to put some at the bottom of the list. and that's the one I'm putting down there. That movie is really, really good though, like really good. If I'm a studio head, if my worst movie is better than everybody else's best movies, then I'll take that. I could sleep good at night with that. But yeah, there hasn't been any bad Avengers movies, so I would say, as a fan and just as a film fan, that you could pretty much expect if you're gonna go spend your money to go see this movie, you are going to have a good time. Like in one way or another, you're going to find some kind of enjoyment, even if it's not out of the movie, just out of experiences alone. Just sitting there with all the other fans who are excited, it's going to be an experiential thing just in itself. So I feel like that alone, a lot of people understand that. If you've seen all the Avengers movies, and you even have to see them in the theaters, but if you've seen them, even streamed them, or you ended up watching them on DVD or 4K, or however you guys watch movies, if you ended up seeing them all, you would understand that they're all essentially pretty good, or just decent at worst. So I feel like with everything that I said, as far as all the pros, and you could even add in the cons as well. You can add in all the cons and the pros for Avengers. I think that's still going to add up to people spending their money to go see this movie. Which is why the only two movies that I talked about for this video is the ones that I realistically think can be top 1 and 2 spot, which is Spider-Man Brand New Day and Avengers Doomsday. So with all that said and done, let me give you guys what I think. I'll say this. Obviously, there's going to be 1 spot. There's going to be a 2 spot. I still think Avengers Doomsday is going to be the biggest film of this year. But after putting this whole list together, I think this is going to be this is going to be way closer of a race than I originally thought. I thought originally that maybe Doomsday makes like maybe 2.4 billion or something like that. I think that's what this movie could probably, if it does its best, I think this movie could end up about 2.4. At its floor, maybe 2.1. But after making this list and just thinking harder about this topic, I think it's gonna be the difference between maybe Let's say Avengers Doomsday does make 2.4. I think Spider-Man's gonna make something like 2.2. Like it's gonna be that close. I used to think it was gonna be maybe Spider-Man makes 1.5 or 1.4, and then Avengers makes like 2.4. Like that's originally what I thought it would be, but I think it's gonna be way closer. Once I weighed out everything, I think it's gonna be way closer than what a lot of people think. So I think at its floor, okay, so let me give you guys my real projection. I think Avengers Doomsday probably makes 2 billion even. 2 billion even. I think Spider-Man Brand New Day probably ends up making 1.8. And that's my prediction. So let's just say what's today's date? June 16th. Let's just say today I'm going to make my prediction. I think Avengers Doomsday ends up making $2 billion essentially even. And then Spider-Man Brand New Day ends up making 1.8. At best, it matches No Way Home at 1.9, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think it ends up making 1.7, 1.8, and I think I'm steering closer to 1.8. So that's just my thoughts on everything. I've been telling you guys, I don't know how long, as far as my box office predictions of the year. I've been right way more than I've been wrong. I think the only time that I was wrong was for The Devil Wears Prada. That's the only time I've been wrong. And even then, I said it has a good chance of making $1 billion. I never said that it would. So technically, I'm still shooting 100% so far. Everything else, I was 100% correct about. But this one, I understand, can go either way based off a lot of different things. But we'll just see how that goes. But once again, to go down, everything that I essentially talked about in this episode, I do think these movies are going to be way closer than I originally expected they're going to be in the box office. I thought it was going to be far off with Avengers being Avengers and Spider-Man being big, but being Spider-Man. But nah, I think it's going to be very, very close. And every day that we get closer to Spider-Man Brand New Day, that pretty much drives my opinion as to why I think it's going to be way closer. But I still think Spider-Man is going to be number 2, and I still think Avengers Doomsday is going to be number 1. But with all that down, I want to know how you guys feel. Do you guys think I'm completely wrong? Am I going crazy? Is Spider-Man like more hyped than I even thought he should be, and he should be the number 1 spot as far as what we think the box office is going to be for both of these once everything is all said and done? Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know, but I want to know what you guys feel about it. I want to know how you guys feel. So if you have any questions regarding how I got to these opinions, like maybe some things I didn't speak on, that maybe I even forgot to speak on. But whatever you guys think, I want you to go down in the comments, let me know, and we'll go from there. But that is my episode for today. I just wanted to come in and give you guys my opinion on those 2 films and tell you why I think that they may do what they may do. I hope you guys enjoy listening to me talk about those. And until next time, peace.